This month, we're going to take a look at our first mock draft. Now, this mock draft comes courtesy of my contact that works for HockeyProspect.com. HockeyProspect.com, they have scouts in the buildings. It's an amalgamation of all these scouts and their information, and they all come together. And every year they put out a 400-page book, which rounds up the draft class and everything, all the notes on the draft class. It is the book that's actually used by Bob McKenzie of TSN. So, yeah. What I did was I emailed my contact this month and I said it'd be interesting to see a mock draft of if they draft by need. So if a team drafts by need, who would they pick? And in what order? So with that in mind, he wanted me to also go over this disclaimer. For this video, mention that these views don't reflect our scouting service, and we never project where players actually get drafted. This is one scout's take on team need for the purpose of this video, and that's it. So there you go. You guys have been warned. Number one. This really shouldn't surprise anybody, but when I put up the players, I'll let you know what he has to say about it. I can't see a situation where New Jersey passes up on Jack Hughes due to their inability to find top-end centers with the recent drafting history. They missed on Zaka and McLeod, who both are projecting as third-liners, who don't drive play or have shown much in the way of consistency. They're role players. Furthermore, the Devils are looking to acquire speed and players that can keep up with Hischier and Hall. Hughes fits that description more than Kakko. So at number 2, the New York Rangers pick, and everybody goes nuts. Number 2, the Islanders. It just says New York, so of course my brain goes, Islanders? No, it's Rangers. Yep. You could argue that New York really won the draft considering they don't have to make the tough decision of picking between two top-end talents this year who are essentially in a dead tie at this point. They most likely get Kakko, who projects as a winger. I know a lot of Rangers fans out there are probably asking if he can play down the middle, but similarly to Kravtsov, who at times can play center, his skill set works more favorably on the wing. It allows him to take advantage of his tools at a higher rate. This pick should really accelerate the Rangers' rebuild, who potentially have Kakko, Kravtsov, and Shesterkin all coming over next season. So, Bob Cole retired at the exact right time. Can't wait till Don Cherry tries saying all these guys' names. How many times do you think he'll call him Crapo Kakko? That's the question with Don Cherry. It's going to be Crapo. He's going to call him all kinds of things, or Bozo, or Bongo, or something. He'll have some weird name for him. He won't say it right. All right. Chicago drafts at 3, and this is where you don't hear as much about everybody who's going to be coming onto the board here, but Podkolzin is supposed to be pretty darn good. So he would go number 3 to Chicago. Unless teams are scared off of Vasily during combine interviews, I don't see how he slips past Chicago. The Blackhawks have shown a willingness to draft Russians fairly high in previous seasons, and Podkolzin is a dynamic winger who should fit in well with players such as Strome and DeBrincat. Another thing to consider is Chicago has a wealth of defensive prospects that were drafted recently. Yoki Haru, Boqvist, and Baudouin are all in their system. This choice isn't based around need, as it's simply the best player available in this class after the top 2. You guys can tell that I didn't write this because it's got all these prospects in there I don't talk about. So people can go. And the reason that this came about for newer subscribers is because last year going into the draft, my knowledge on picks just came from magazines and came from, you know, whatever I heard on Craig Button's list and all this. So this contact from Hockey Prospect reached out to me and said, you know, your videos seem to be pretty top quality, but you don't really know your prospects, do you? And I emailed back and said, no. He's like, all right, well, we'll help you out. And we'll help you out as long as you're doing some sort of a cross-promotion for us. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. Yes, let's do that. So here we are. At number 4, the Colorado Avalanche. And now that we're at number 4, can we stop all the reg talk? Yes, the draft lottery results leaked out early because they make those draft results happen earlier. It's not that, oh, we're all coming in. The draft lottery is done in front of a representative of every single team who are in the lottery. So there's no weird Illuminati crap going on. It's so weird. I'm going to do a video at some point on how the league is biased in favor of and against all 31 teams. That should be fun. Alex Turcotte at 4. I think Colorado's looking to bolster their secondary scoring. Best way to do that would be to find a fast-paced two-way center who could drive the play. There's no center that fits that description better than Alex in this class. He's a perfect fit behind McKinnon, and the two of them would be very difficult to deal with when matching up against other top teams in the West. When looking at their back end, Makar gives them the opportunity to pass on Byram. Though it's very tight, there's very little separation with picks 4 through 10. So, not taking Byram because they'd say Turcotte's too good to pass on. Number 5, LA. Because, yeah, I can come up with a video that describes why all 31 teams have the NHL biased in favor of and against them. If you're a fan sitting there going, you can't find a reason that they're biased in favor of my team. Yeah, I can. Okay, number 5. LA drafts Dylan Cozens. LA need everything after this season, so Cozens fitting into this slot is more about recent draft picks such as Kupari and Jared Anderson-Dolan, which emphasize speed and skill. I think LA looks to Cozens that continues that trend. We personally don't project Cozens as a center at this time and think his skill set is more suitable to the wing, but regardless where you project him, Cozens is capable of generating off the rush and has some of the best projectable skating in his class. Number 6, Detroit. If they draft Bowen Byram, man, Detroit, I tell you. This is the easiest choice on the list for myself outside of the top 2. If LA and Colorado do pass on Byram, then I can't see a scenario where Detroit doesn't take him. They didn't take Quinn Hughes. Honestly, I think they already kind of regret that on some level. I'm not saying Zadina's not going to be a great player. He is. I think if they could do it over again, I think they'd take Hughes. They need to bolster their back end, and Byram gives them a dynamic defenseman who can play in all situations sooner rather than later. He could play next year. Could happen. He seems to be trending very, very quickly. Like there earlier this year was sort of, yeah, he's okay. He's probably one of the better defensemen in this class. And now it's just he could go as high as 4. Byram could absolutely go as high as 4 to Colorado. And if they had Byram and Makar, anyways. Number 7. I mean, in Colorado finished in the playoffs. They don't need a number 1 draft pick. Man, people are greedy these days. Number 7. I want all the draft picks. Number 7, the Buffalo Sabres would draft Peyton Krebs. Buffalo needs a player who's consistent and competes. We think of Krebs as a leader who is more than the sum of his parts as a player. He might not project as high a ceiling as, say, Boldy, Zagra, or Dak. Who are left on the board, but Peyton has one of the highest levels of compete out of any player in the class, a non-stop motor, and can bring additional leadership on the ice to a team that needs it. One of Krebs' best attributes is Mittelstadt's weakness, which is pacing. So that's kind of an well, not really off the board, but that's a pick that I know people are going to say, oh no, he won't go that early. You just never know. You just never know. Number 8. So the Oilers are up. And who do the Oilers pick? Victor Soderstrom. Again, this is not based off of where I think they will go or actual rankings. This is based off what they need. Edmonton needs help everywhere, but they really need a modern-day puck mover who can help quarterback a power play. Oiler fans, we have an agreement there? I think we do. Especially if they have further injury concerns on their defense, such as Klefbom. They weren't the same team when Klefbom was out, and that is very true. I would agree. Now, here's the other thing. The nice thing with drafting via what teams need, do the Oilers perhaps move down knowing Soderstrom would be available at, say, 10 or 11? And that's a question you have. Now, in recent history, teams drafting by need haven't been trading down. They just go, you know what? This is the guy we want anyways. We're not going to play some weird game here and potentially miss out on him. We're just going to take him in this spot. We don't really care. And I honestly, that's kind of kind of nice to see. Number 9. Trevor Zegras. So, Trevor going to Anaheim would be yet another North American prospect for the Anaheim Ducks. I think it would be fitting to see Datch getting mentored by Getzlaf, who shares the same traits, but Zegras brings a skating element which Datch lacks. And the Ducks are not a fast team, so in terms of need, I think the Ducks really need an elusive center who can drive play that fits Zegras' description slightly more than it does for Datch. So we'll see. That's one of those we'll see kind of things, which is Kirby Datch might fit better. But Zegras, if they're going to draft for speed, and we can all kind of admit the Ducks were slowish looking team this past season. It was part of the... There were a lot of reasons the Ducks ended up missing the playoffs, but that was definitely part of it. Number 10, Vancouver. Vancouver's up. Here's the other problem. So Canuck fans want to complain about how we always get hosed at the draft lottery. Do you like Quinn Hughes? Do you like Elias Pettersson? Right? So, because we got screwed at the draft, we have Hughes and Pettersson. And we drafted Besser at 23. Doesn't really matter where you pick, it's who you pick. I just find it so weird. I mean, I could understand if every single draft, your number 1 draft pick was the best guy in the draft class. There are numerous times that doesn't happen. Where, 5, 7, 12, 15. You look back 20 years later and go, wow, the guy drafted at 16 was probably the best guy in the draft. Yeah. You have to draft well. It doesn't really matter where those lottery results end up. Number 10. The Vancouver Canucks with the number 10 pick at home. Crowd goes nuts. They draft Matthew Boldy. And I would be happy with that pick. Vancouver needs players who can fit in with Horvat and Pettersson on the top 2 lines. Boldy is a dynamic power forward who brings an element the Canucks lack. Furthermore, I could see him being a good fit with Bo and Elias. On the power play, Boldy's size and vision would make him a threat around the net area, which would make Vancouver's power play more dangerous. Both Bo and Elias are detail-oriented players away from the puck, which would help compensate for Matthews' rate of execution if it stagnates in his development as well, which is prone to turnovers. So the defensive side of the game, not fantastic, but can be helped by Bo Horvat, who's really turning into a pretty decent two-way forward. So yeah, Boldy at 10. Vancouver fans go nuts. And then number 11, Kirby Datch. Now, he starts it with this, and I actually kind of laughed the first time I saw this. I know, there's no way Datch slips outside the top 10, and you're probably right. But this is about team need, which has left him out in this type of list. Philadelphia might not have what they thought they would originally have in Patrick, but with Datch, might get that big center that every team covets, though the Flyers have positional need accounted for everywhere when discussing their pipeline. So this would be a coup if Datch fell out of the top 10 and fell to Philly. Because of the way that I asked for this list to be done, that's why he's at 11. Somebody's going to fast forward to the end and go, there's no way Datch is going to finish at 11. We know. Just saying. Number 12, the Minnesota Wild. Ryan Suzuki. You know what I just realized? Somewhere fans are going nuts for the last 14 minutes. Montreal not on the board. Sorry, Montreal. I'm very sorry. I forgot you didn't make the playoffs. Ryan Suzuki, the Wild's biggest team need is additional skill and someone who can bolster their average power play. Ryan is very talented, projects to be able to potentially run a power play down the road, though he's going to have to overcome several developmental concerns along the way. So once you get down into here, you're getting into the guys who might have some concerns. There might be a couple of red flags, and that's why they end up in this area rather than up in here. Your top 3 this year are pretty much set. Outside of that, there could definitely be some movement. Byron going as high as 4, for instance. Suzuki's one of those guys who's kind of a wild card in this draft. Number 13. I was asked recently Goaltenders. And Spencer Knight going in the first round. Very, very possible. Spencer Knight going to Florida. That doesn't seem like it's out of the realm of possibility. And I believe I've discussed that before. Where looking at teams that might want to draft a goalie in the first round. Florida, for me, is one of those teams that might. Arizona, who's right below Florida, may very well end up being that team as well. Spencer Knight, I know he's had a difficult couple of months, but Spencer still projects as a future #1 goalie, and with Luongo's future in doubt, their biggest team need is in the pipes, if Bobrovsky doesn't sign there. And that's in brackets. But of course, the draft being before that, if they go into the draft thinking, well, we don't know if Bobrovsky's going to sign, you might draft a goalie anyways. You might turn around and say, you know what, Montembeau's not bad, but Knight's going to be a starter, and we're really happy about the idea of getting Bobrovsky. But you know what the heck, we'll draft a goalie in the first round. They wouldn't be the first team to do that, and sometimes that's the smartest move. Draft the best player. Number 14, and this is where I know I'm going to butcher the name. I'm going to butcher it. Ville Heinola for the Arizona Coyotes. I think Arizona needs help on the back end. Ville has had a terrific season. Projects as a mobile two-way defenseman who could join the rush, so he could fit well with what Arizona's looking to do. They need help on the blue line. They need top end skill too. Hayden probably going to be given a shot at that lineup this year, and I really think they need to find somebody who can come in and coach some goals out of this team. Tocchet did very, very well, but they need somebody who can get some more goals into that lineup. Because when you look at players from Arizona who leave and go elsewhere and then they score better, whether it's Domi, whether it's Strome, it tells you there's something in Arizona that's holding these players back. And so, drafting a defenseman makes sense. I'd go further and say they need to bring somebody in to help fix some of the systematic issues they have going on there. Number 15, Montreal. You're on the board. And it sounds like a Montreal name, Cam York. Yeah, I know. I said recently I think Montreal should be drafting more French players, but Cam York. Sure, why not? Montreal needs help on the back end, which is very much true. And Cam is one of the smartest defensemen in his class. He also projects to get some power play minutes, and they need a lot of help in that regard, so he's a decent fit. Furthermore, they like to play with speed, and Cam is an excellent skater and a great outlet passer. So there you go. He also added a note at the bottom here. I'm from Vancouver, so I know the pain that fellow Canucks fans must be feeling, but the 2020 draft is looking deeper than the 2019 draft with considerable top-end talent. So hopefully next year they can finally have some luck in the lottery if they miss the playoffs again. So better luck next year. Which will just drive Canuck fans into a frenzy. And for people who are wondering, because people are going to be asking in the comments, the jersey I'm wearing is the Kansas City Scouts, who were a team that existed for 2 years, moved to Colorado. I believe they existed in Colorado for 4, and then moved to New Jersey. That's the reason I'm wearing Kansas City Scouts. And this is going to be a very, very interesting draft because, again, outside of the top 3, almost anything can happen. I think we're going to get some surprises, even with all this help through hockeyprospect.com, and I thank them for that. I thank them for their help all season. I still think we're going to see some surprises in that top 10, and then outside of it as well. Again, Kirby's not going to fall. Kirby's not going to end up 10th. Again, this is just for fun, right? So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, who the steals are going to be out of this top 15, and who you think out of the top 15 could potentially be a bust. Because that's always a discussion on draft day. You'll always see in any given live stream that I do of the first round, somebody will be revealed, and people go, this guy's a bust. He hasn't played a game yet, hasn't even gone to training camp, and people, this guy's going to be a bust. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below, as always, as I know you will. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And hey, we are only a couple of months away from teams that are outside the playoffs getting the center stage yet again at the entry draft. Who needs a Stanley Cup playoff anyway, right? No. But anyways, there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.